The rain that night felt heavier than it should have been, as if the sky itself was trying to wash away something painful. I remember standing under the dim yellow light outside the small apartment building in Portland, Oregon, holding my daughter against my chest while she slept peacefully, unaware that her entire life had just changed. My heart was pounding, my hands trembling, and yet the hardest part wasn't leaving. The hardest part was knowing I was leaving without even writing my name. Before we begin this story, if you believe that kindness and second chances can change lives, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment about what kindness means to you, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that even broken moments can lead to beautiful endings. My name is Michael Carter, and 3 years ago I was just a tired single father trying to survive. My daughter Ava had just turned 2, and every day felt like climbing a mountain with no end in sight. Her mother had disappeared shortly after Ava was born, leaving behind nothing but a short note and a silence that still echoed in my head. Suddenly it was just the two of us. Diapers, sleepless nights, crying, working long hours at a construction site, and wondering if I was strong enough to raise a child alone. We moved constantly back then. Cheap apartments, tiny rooms, places where the heating barely worked and the walls were so thin you could hear your neighbor breathing. I wasn't proud of the life I could offer Ava, but I promised myself one thing: she would always have me. One cold November evening, everything changed in a way I never expected. I had just finished a 14-hour shift repairing a collapsed warehouse roof. My muscles ached, my boots were soaked, and Ava had spent the entire afternoon at a small daycare run by a quiet woman named Hannah Brooks. It was one of those places tucked between a laundromat and a bakery, simple but warm. Hannah was the kind of person who didn't say much but somehow made you feel understood. She had soft brown hair usually tied in a loose bun, and calm green eyes that seemed to notice everything without judging. The daycare itself was small, only a handful of kids, and she ran it alone after losing her husband in a car accident several years earlier. At first, our conversations were short. I'd drop Ava off early in the morning, rushing to work, and pick her up late in the evening. Hannah would simply smile and tell me how Ava had spent the day drawing or chasing bubbles in the backyard. But slowly, something changed. Ava grew attached to her, quickly laughing more whenever Hannah was around. And I began to notice the small kindnesses Hannah showed us. Sometimes there would be extra snacks packed for Ava. Sometimes she'd keep the daycare open a little longer if my work ran late. One night, a terrible storm rolled through the city. Roads flooded, power lines snapped, and the entire neighborhood went dark. I arrived at the daycare soaked from head to toe, expecting to find Ava scared and crying. Instead, I walked into a room lit by candlelight where Hannah was sitting on the floor with Ava, reading a children's book while the rain thundered outside. Ava was giggling, pointing at the pictures, completely calm. That moment did something strange to my heart. For the first time in years, the world felt quiet. Hannah looked up and smiled gently, telling me that Ava had fallen asleep earlier but woke up during the storm, so they decided to read together. There was warmth in her voice that felt unfamiliar, like a place I didn't belong but wished I did. And that's when the fear began. Because kindness can be dangerous when you've lived too long in survival mode. Over the next few months, Hannah and I spoke more often. Not about anything big, just little things. Ava learning new words, funny moments during the day, the weather. But I noticed how she watched Ava with something deeper than simple care. There was affection there, something protective. And slowly I realized something else. She cared about me too. I wasn't blind to the way her voice softened when we talked, or how she lingered a little longer at the door when I came to pick Ava up. And to be honest, part of me felt the same warmth growing in return. But love, when you're a struggling single father, can feel like a luxury you don't deserve. I barely made enough money to survive. My life was chaos. And Hannah, she deserved someone stable, someone without baggage, someone who didn't bring a crying toddler and exhaustion into every room he entered. The thought haunted me for weeks, until the day everything fell apart. The construction company I worked for shut down unexpectedly after a financial scandal. Overnight, I lost my job. Rent piled up, bills stacked higher than I could handle. I tried to hide it, but exhaustion and stress began showing on my face. Hannah noticed immediately. One evening she gently asked if everything was all right. Her voice carried real concern, the kind that made my chest tighten because I knew I couldn't accept the help she was silently offering. That night I made a decision that felt like tearing my own heart out. I would leave. I packed our few belongings into 2 bags while Ava slept in the corner of the small apartment. The rain had returned, just like the night months before. Before leaving town to look for work in another state, I stopped at the daycare one last time. The building was closed, lights off, windows dark. I sat on the porch steps for a long time, holding a small envelope in my hand. Inside was a short note thanking Hannah for caring for Ava, but I never wrote my name because I believed she would be better off forgetting us. 3 years passed. Life eventually improved. I found steady work in Denver, Colorado, fixing roofs again. Ava started preschool and grew into a bright, curious little girl who loved drawing and asking endless questions. But every once in a while, late at night, I'd think about a candlelit room during a storm, and a woman who read stories to my daughter like she had known her forever. I assumed that chapter of my life had closed forever, until one quiet Sunday afternoon. Ava and I were walking through a park near our apartment when a voice behind me stopped my heart, a soft, familiar voice filled with disbelief. She asked why I left without my name. When I turned around, Hannah Brooks was standing only a few feet away. Her eyes looked exactly the same, but there was something deeper in them now, something determined. For a moment I couldn't speak. Ava looked up at her curiously as if trying to remember a dream. Hannah explained that she had kept the note for years. Something about it never felt complete. She searched online, asked around, even contacted other daycare networks across states. Eventually she found a clue that led her here, and then she said something that shattered the walls I had built around my heart. She said she never wanted to find just a name. She wanted to find the man who had tried so hard to protect his daughter, even if it meant disappearing. In that moment, I finally admitted the truth I had been hiding from myself for years. I hadn't left because Hannah didn't deserve me. I left because I was afraid she did. But life has a strange way of bringing people back together when the timing is finally right. If this story is touching your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe for more real-life inspired stories like this. And before we reach the ending, I have a small request for you. Write in the comments, second chances are real, because sometimes the people meant to stay in our lives just need time to find their way back. Hannah didn't leave that day. Instead, she sat with us on a park bench while Ava happily showed her drawings from preschool. Watching them together again felt like stepping into a memory I thought was lost forever. Weeks turned into months. This time, I didn't run. And slowly, carefully, the small family I once believed impossible began to form right in front of me. Ava started calling Hannah her favorite storyteller again. And for the first time since becoming a father, I realized something important. Being a single dad wasn't something to hide. It was something someone could love me for. If this story moved your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who believes love can find its way back, and subscribe for more stories that remind us hope is never truly lost. Because sometimes the people we leave behind are the very ones who never stop looking for us.